All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to fire up the assembly line and take a peek inside Android Studio. You can think of it as the official factory where all your favorite Android apps are actually born.
I mean, seriously, you tap, you swipe, you scroll through them every single day. But have you ever stopped to wonder about the journey and app text, from just an idea in someone's head to that little icon sitting right there on your home screen? Well, it all starts in one place.
And here's the key thing to understand. Android Studio isn't just some simple text editor. No way. It's an all-in-one command center. Imagine a complete workshop that gives developers every single tool they need, from the initial blueprint all the way to the final polished product, all under one roof.
So let's start with a quick look at how this incredibly powerful tool became the undisputed champion for building things on Android.
Its rise to the top was, frankly, fast and decisive. It was announced back in 2013, and it hit its first stable release just 1 year later. By 2015, Google made it official, basically telling developers this is the tool now and dropping support for the older stuff. And then in 2019 came another huge shift, when it fully embraced Kotlin, making that the new, modern, and preferred language for developers.
Okay, so let's move on to the very first stage of creation, designing the blueprint. This is all about crafting what the user is actually going to see and interact with. It's that all-important first impression.
You know, what's really wild is how much this has changed. In the old days, a developer would have to write some code for, say, a button, then build the entire app, and then run it just to see if that button was in the right spot. It was so slow and painful. But today, it's instantaneous. You change a line of code and you see the result live on your screen, right then and there. It's like magic.
And the tools developers have now are just incredible. They can literally drag and drop buttons and images onto the screen, build these beautiful dynamic layouts with new stuff like Jetpack Compose, and, this is absolutely critical, they can preview their design on pretty much every screen imaginable, from a tiny little watch to a giant foldable tablet, all at the same time.
So the blueprint is designed. Now it's time to add the brains and the muscle. This is the part where that visual design gets turned into a living, breathing application.
And developers get a choice of languages here. The original language, Java, is still totally supported. But Kotlin is now Google's go-to choice because it has more modern features and it's a bit safer to write. And for those really heavy-duty tasks, like in a high-performance game, they could even drop down to C++ to squeeze out every last bit of performance.
And you've got to understand, this isn't just a blank page for typing. The editor is an active partner in the process. It's constantly suggesting how to finish your lines of code, finding potential mistakes as you type, and even offering one-click fixes. It's a massive productivity boost.
So if the code editor is where all the parts are made, you can think of Gradle as the main assembly line. It's this super powerful system that takes all the code, all the images, all the resources, and packages them together into the final app. And what's really amazing is that it can automatically create different versions, like a free version and a paid pro version from the exact same project.
Okay, so the app is built. We're done, right? Well, not so fast. Will it actually work on the thousands of different Android devices out there? This is where quality control comes in, and it's a big deal.
I mean, this is the classic challenge for every Android developer. It's just physically impossible to own every single phone, tablet, and watch. So how do you solve that problem?
The answer is you simulate them. The Android emulator that's built right in is incredibly powerful. It lets a developer create a virtual version of almost any Android device right on their computer, so they can test their app on a virtual foldable phone, a tablet, or a smartwatch without ever needing to touch the real hardware.
And it's not just about clicking around on a virtual phone. Android Studio also has these automated inspectors called lint tools. Think of them like a super smart spell checker for your code. They scan for thousands of common problems and help you catch performance or security issues really early on.
You know, any great workshop lets you bring in your own specialized tools to get the job done faster. Well, Android Studio is no different. It's built to be customized.
Developers can pretty much enhance their setup in layers. They start with all the powerful tools that come right out of the box. Then they can tap into this huge marketplace of plugins that the community has built. And if that's still not enough, they can even build their own custom plugins to handle really specific tasks.
But the biggest evolution happening in the factory right now, it's not just about plugins. It's about artificial intelligence. The latest versions of Android Studio now come with Gemini, an AI assistant baked right into the workflow.
Just think of it like having a genius co-pilot sitting next to you. A developer can describe a feature they want in plain English, and boom, Gemini generates the code.
If there's a tricky bug, the AI can help find and fix it. And if you're just stuck, you can ask it questions right there in the editor. This is a real game changer for how apps get made.
All right, we're on the home stretch now. Let's talk about the final step, getting the finished app out of the factory and into the hands of millions of people around the world.
This final process is basically a well-defined checklist. The code gets compiled into a modern package called an Android app bundle. There are tools to help inspect and shrink the app size so it downloads faster. The developer then digitally signs the app to prove it's authentic. And finally, they upload it to the Google Play Store, ready for the world to download.
And that really brings us to the end of the line. From a simple idea all the way to a global release, Android Studio is there to manage every single step. But as AI becomes less of a side tool and more of a fundamental partner in creation, it leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. What kind of apps will we see when the only limit is a developer's imagination?